This section is going to be all about tracks, and there's a lot of different track types that Cubase uses, but I'm going to show you the 4 most common track types and how to add them to your project. And there's a number of different ways to do that. The first way is under the Project pull-down menu, you can choose Add Track, and then off to the side, you'll get this menu of all the different track types, starting with the 4 most common ones here at the top, which are Audio, Instrument, MIDI, and Sampler. And then choosing a track type will open a dialog box. So here's an Add Track dialog box for a MIDI track. And here you can give it a name as well as a number of tracks that you want to add. So if you're recording multiple tracks simultaneously from different MIDI controllers, you'd want to add an individual track for each one. So you'd want to add the number of MIDI tracks here. So here's 6 MIDI tracks, and I'm just going to call this drums, for example. And now we've added those 6 individual MIDI tracks to our project. But I'm going to undo that and show you a couple of other ways to add tracks. If you right or control click in the track column here, then you get that same menu. So now let's add an audio track, because the Add Track dialog box for audio tracks looks very different. Here you can choose your audio input that you want to record from, the track configuration, whether it's mono, stereo, or some sort of surround configuration. And then you can also choose the audio outputs, the name, and the count. So let's say that we wanted to add 2 audio tracks that are both mono. So I'll call these audio, and then you'll notice that it automatically incremented the number of those tracks. So I have audio track 1 and audio track 2. If you wanted to record them simultaneously, you'd need to make sure that each track was set to its own individual input by coming to the input selection over here and choosing the left input of your audio interface for track 1, and then track 2 would need to record from a separate input, in this case, the right input of my audio interface. But I'm going to undo that again and get rid of those tracks and show you the other method, which is by clicking the little plus button right here, which will open the Add Track dialog box. And this has all the most common track types at the top, followed by some of the more commonly used ones underneath, and then some of the ones that you don't use as much, perhaps, as the other tracks. But just make sure that when you're looking for those tracks, you click that little chevron next to More Tracks. And so if we were to add a sampler track, then the dialog box is going to change a little bit. Here we can add as many as we want and give them a name right here. And if we wanted to continue to add tracks one over the other, this particular method has the Keep Dialog Box option available to you so that you can add the tracks that you want. For example, if we needed to add an audio track, here's a mono audio track. I'll keep the dialog box open and click Add Track. That adds 1 audio track to our project. Now I might want to add a few MIDI tracks to our project. So I'll give those 3. I won't enter a name because Cubase will name them for me automatically. Although it is a good idea to go in and add the names of your tracks so that you can find them more easily. That way you're not looking for the bass track among 40 different tracks named MIDI 01 through MIDI 40. And after we've added all the tracks that we want, we can close the dialog box. And next, I'll show you more about MIDI tracks.